Hello a chairde, Jimmer de Taishiv, Tasula gom gwymwyd gymoed Charlie, Conas a Tatu. Tasula gom gwyshiv gymoed gwyshiv gobra. Folks, how's the studying coming along? Hope things are going really, really well. The weather's been lovely over the past couple of days, so if you haven't gotten as much done in terms of studying and maybe revising from your materials, that's okay, that's perfect. You can just get back on it today. And the good news, the weather's to get worse as the week goes on, which makes it an awful lot easier to actually get material done and to start revising. But what we're going to do in today's class, we've actually got 2 Irish classes coming up for you today to make sure that things are good and things are fine. We're going to go through a paper review in this class, and the notes that you need for today's class are over there in the chat function. All you need to do is just have a look at them, but I've put the entire paper, the approach to the paper, the timing for the paper, I've put it all into one little nice document for you that you can all read, and we're going to go through that in today's class to make sure you know what's in each section, you know how much time to spend on it, and you know what to do in each of the sections, because you've been doing fantastic work over the past couple of weeks, past couple of months with me. Since September, you've locked in. We've done lots of grammatical points that my 6th years could never do. We've done lots of grammatical points that my 6th years are like, Michal, I can't do a Mo Kenealach. And we spent about 2 weeks on the Mo Kenealach there, and you were like, it's actually not as bad as people make it out to be. It's actually quite doable. It's literally just the past tense and add your rules, and that's all it is. And we looked at why spelling changes as well. We looked at the difference between masculine and feminine words in Irish, and you told me it is actually very patterned. It's actually quite logical. It's actually quite structured. But our Irish language, our grammar is super, super structured, that if you like equations and you like consistency and things are always in the right place at the right time, and we don't really like exceptions, you'll love Irish. It's just the books don't really kind of tell you how to Irish in a nice way. It's just like learn all this material. So we've been getting on really, really good in terms of our language skills for this year, and I'm super impressed and I'm really, really proud of everything that you've done with me over the past couple of months. As I said, I've been doing a couple of bits with the Leaving Certs, and they're like, Michal, I can't do this thing, can't do it. And I've just been like, well, my 3rd year's got it. Like, come on, Nigel, tighten up. Like, if they're able to do it, you're able to do it. So well done on that. And we also locked in then special master classes for the past couple of months, every Wednesday at about 8 o'clock. And we've done Jacker Skull, we've done Stadoliocht, we've done Clihamore, we've done Glenallen, we have done Spas. I'm going to do Smuff tonight at 7 o'clock, just after my 6th years, at 7 o'clock tonight. 1:45. I tell you a lie. At 1:45, I'm going to go for a Smuff, and it's going to be a little bit of a Q&A. If you want to jump on towards the end of it, we can have a little bit of a chat as well. But today you've got 2 classes. We're going to go through the paper review while you're getting the notes done, and then we're going to come back at 1:45 this evening, and we're going to have a look then at Smuff, and if that's one of your prose pieces. And then at the end of that class, at the very, very end, then if you want, you can jump on and we can have a little bit of a chat as well about that, about the other parts of the course. So you've got kind of 2 options to have a chat with me today. So I tell you what, let's get started. Let's have a look at your course. I really like the higher level junior cycle course, but you know what? I think you're going to like the Leaving Cert higher level course as well, because it's a little bit more structured. It's a little bit more kind of reliable, and it's a little bit more, it's based on speech. So I want to talk to you about why I think you should all be sticking with higher level Irish for the senior cycle. So if you're going into 4th year or you're going into 5th year, higher level Irish is really, really structured and really, really predictable. Where junior cycle, not as much. Junior cycle, it's a little bit kind of up in the air at times. It can be a little bit kind of, but that's a skill. But I really like the higher level course for senior cycle because it's a little bit more kind of, it's a little bit more relaxed. And you know exactly what's going to come up in each sections, and the sections never move around. Everything's a bit more locked in for Leaving Cert. So I have a quick question for you, right? Who's going to go straight into 5th year, and who's going to go into transition year, into TY? Have you made up your mind yet whether you're going to do TY or whether you're just going to go into 5th year? Pop it into the chat function and let me know. Let's have a look and see where you're going to go after this year. But if you are going to go into 5th year, it's not as bad as what people make out. And plus you'll have me in 5th year as well. And we get to do the course over 2 years, 5th year and 6th year, which is really good, which means low key, no stress, no hassle, and it's all doable. It's all very, very good. TY, 5th year, Barbara, Michaela, Jimmer Tatu, Zaina, how you getting on? Alex, Tatarash, Manu, you're back, 5th year, excellent, straight into it. Adil, 5th year, and Mia in transition year. And Nisalt, how you getting on? All into transition year as well. So there's kind of half the class are going to go into transition year and half the class are going to go into TY. That's perfect, that's really, really good. I'm actually going to show you, right, very quickly, if you are going into 5th year. Here's what your 5th year plan looks like. So what we do in 5th year and 6th year is they're all together, right? So Mondays I've been doing French. right? Tuesdays, I do paper 2. Wednesdays, I do a question 6B and a listening with you, and I do the orals with you on Wednesdays as well. And then Thursdays, we do essay writing and writing skills. And then on Friday, we look at other parts of the paper. So if you are going into 5th year next year, every night of the week, there's going to be a certain part going to be dedicated to the course. So I run classes from Monday to Thursday, usually 2 nights a week, and I do certain parts, the orals, the orals, the listenings. I do paper 1, I do grammar writing, I do poems, I do stories. So all of the different kind of classes are on different types of nights. So if you are back with me in 5th year, you can jump in and out of the nights that you want to. So there's a lot more choice and an awful lot more options as well. And if you are going into transition year as well, the one thing I will tell you, the one thing I will say to you is, please, if you are going to do something in transition year in terms of Irish, lock in the oral exams, because the oral exams are worth 50%. So I'm going to take one quick little look at this, and I want to show you something, your marking scheme. So folks, grab a wee pen there and I'll show you something for next year. Whether you're going into transition year or whether you're going to go into 5th year, it doesn't make any difference. I want to show you something about the course that you'll all be doing next year. Now, the oral exam is only 12 minutes, and that's worth 40%. And in the oral exam, we'll give you a mark for getting your name right, we'll give you a mark for getting your address right, we'll give you a mark for telling me how old you are. You get marks for all of that. We're also going to get you to read me a poem, right? But here's the best thing. I'll give you the phonetics of that poem and you write it down on a sheet of paper. So you write down your phonetics of the poem on a sheet of paper. You bring that sheet of paper into your oral exam in 6th year. You bring that into me and I'll ask you to read me a poem and you read off the phonetics off that sheet. And if you can read off the phonetics off that sheet, I'll give you 35 marks. So you're actually allowed to write the phonetics of a poem and how it sounds and the spelling of it, and be able to pronounce it. You actually bring that sheet into the actual oral exam with you and you read me a poem, you read your own handwriting, and I give you 35 marks. So this oral exam here is super. It's 40% for pretty much everybody in the country. And we actually only have to have a chat for 8 minutes. So there's going to be 4 parts to the course. We only have to have a wee little bit of a chat for 8 minutes, which is brilliant. Now, the next thing that I want you to pay attention to in transition year and in 5th year, right, is your listening. Now, your listening is worth 10%. So straight away, you will earn 50% of your Leaving Cert from speaking and listening in Irish. That's 50% of the entire exam is going to go for the orals, speaking, and the orals, listening. So the higher level course, whether you're going into 5th year, whether you're going into transition year, doesn't make a difference. But the one thing I'd all want you to do is we all need to get kicking into this straight away. Doing work for the orals and doing work for the listening in Irish. That's 50% of your exam itself. Now there are other things, there's great things on it, like reading comprehensions, which are copy and paste. They'll give you a H3 if you can copy and paste material. The whole higher level course for Irish is set to give you a massive amount of marks very quickly. So in 12 minutes, you will earn 40% of your Leaving Cert exam. In 22 minutes, you will earn 10% of your Leaving exam. That means in 34 minutes, the student will have earned 50% of their entire Leaving Cert exam in 34 minutes. That's 50%. But the higher level is definitely worth, and it's got a lovely healthy H1 ratio. H1s, H2s are quite high in Irish. So if you want to have a bit of a chat about that, pop it into the chat function. We'll have a little bit of a look at it. But in the meantime, let's get you started. Let's have a look at our junior cycle paper. We're going to go from the very start and we're going to have a look and to see what it's all about. So we're going to go through our paper bit by bit. We're going to look at the listening, the reading comprehensions, your novel. I want to look at the written part. I want to look at the grammar. We want to have a look at the short film or the drama, have a look at your poetry and the timing. These are the things we want to have a look at in today's class. A full paper review to make sure that you're good, you're comfortable, and you know what's coming up. So first page, let's have a look at this. In the first page, we've got a clatter of marks. Have a look at this. We've got Ryan A here, and that's your listening. 3 questions, roughly about 45 marks. And then we have Ryan B. Ryan B is your reading, literature, it's your grammar, and that's going to be worth 225 marks. Now, let's go back. So we know it's broken into 2 parts, don't we? The listening, and then we have the written paper. So let's have a look at your listening first. The listening itself is broken down into 3 questions, isn't it? Question 1, question 2, and question 3. We've been doing these for the past couple of weeks. And correct me if I'm wrong, but as a class, you seem to be getting on really, really well with the listening, which is brilliant. In the bag, we're all going to Trinity. So you've been doing question 1, question 2, and we've been doing question 3. I have a quick question. Have you noticed the listening getting a little bit easier for you? Have you noticed over the past couple of weeks that the listening is, yeah, it's not that bad. It's actually kind of grand. Yeah, I'm getting much better. Let me know in the comment section. But we've looked at the listening. And the second thing I want to ask you, what is the one thing that we will not do on the listening? What is the thing that has actually improved our listening skills? The one thing I told you not to do on the day of the exam. And when you done it, you actually found out it's actually much better to do it this way. But 100%, the listening has been improving, hasn't it? The listening has been getting much, much better. And the best thing about this, about us, is we started to lock in the listening a couple of months ago. And you're telling me there that you got on very, very well in it. Where most of the students in the country don't do well at the listening. Most of the students in this do not do well in the listening. They do reasonably bad, reasonably poor, because they don't spend enough time at this. We've locked it in, and you're telling me we get on much better with the listening, which is brilliant. So straight off the bat, I think we're a little bit more ahead than the rest of the students in the country, which is fantastic. Now, exactly 100%, Michaela, Alex, Tara, Isalt, Manu, what we do not do with the listening is we don't translate the questions into English. Why? Questions are in Irish, tapes in Irish. You're starting to write in English, you're thinking in English, which means your brain's going to have a meltdown between the 2 languages. So what we want to do, we pick one language and we stick with it. And that way we pick Irish and we stay with it. And all we do is we highlight the keywords. Do you remember? If I ask you, where does John live? Cá will Sean in a Coney? Well, if you have to give me that answer, they have to use the word Coney for lives. Tá Sean in a Coney in Molly a Clia. So the wording of the question has to be in your answer when you think about it. So that's why we think highlighting is much better, because you highlight the word Coney, you highlight the word Cá for where and Coney for live, because that Coney, when you hear that word Tá Sean in a Coney, you're like, that's my answer. That's where it is. And it pinpoints your listening. Where if you're translating in English, nobody's going to use English. There'll be no English on the tape. There's no English in the question. You're not allowed to write down English. So we've kind of wasted a little bit of time by translating a question into English. Stick to Irish. You've been getting on much, much better with that way. So let's have a look at question 1, question 2, and question 3. Now, have a look at this, right? Question 1 is called a piece of kaintje, a piece of talk, because it is a piece of talk. It's a talk between 2 people. It's a little bit of a chat. It's just a small little bit, but the emphasis is on pisa. That's the thing. It's only a bit, not a full spiel, not a full long conversation. It's just a bit of a chat, a bit of a talk. And this is going to be played twice. That's going to be worth 15 marks to you. Now, question 2, this is a fogra. Highlight the word fogra for me. Fogra means an announcement. And that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to announce something. They're going to announce a new festival, a new film, a new book. They're going to announce something in school. It's an announcement. They're going to play it. And we get to hear this twice, which is good. And that's also worth 15 marks. Then we move on to question 3. This is important. Question 3 is called a cora, which means a conversation. And that's exactly what we've been hearing over the past couple of weeks. A conversation between 2 60-year-olds pretending to be 16 years of age. Nuala and Sean are having the chats about something. So that's exactly what you're going to hear. You're going to hear a conversation back and forth. Now here's the thing. The conversation is played twice, but remember, it's in 2 parts. So we run all the way through from start to finish, and then we come back and we'll hear the first segment, there'll be a pause, and then we'll hear the second segment. So remember, question 3, it's conversation. It's going to be played twice, but it'll go right the way through and there'll be a pause. And then it comes back and it'll play the first part, a pause, and then the second part and a pause. The other thing we have when it comes to the listening is we want to write in shorthand all the time. During the pauses, or at the end of the question. Then we go back and we fill in our answers. But I want you to keep up with the questions. Keep up with the questions. So use shorthand. What sport does Niamh play? And it's rugby. Write down rug, R-U-G. Keep up the next question. Have a look at it. Where does Niamh live? Niamh lives in Dublin. I'd write down Baile Átha Cliath, B-A-C. And I'd keep up with the question itself. So I want to make sure that we have the same part over and over and over again, that we just use shorthand all the time when it comes to the listening, because we want to keep up with the listening. We want to keep up with that tape. The worst thing we can do is start to fill out an answer, because that tape is gone. That tape's going with or without you onto the next question. So we want to keep up with each of the questions, and the best way to do that, shorthand all the way. We'll talk about this in a bit more in a second. Now, after that, we move on then to the written part, which is our Ryan B. Ryan B is made up of 225 marks. It's a nice amount of marks to get. It's got the reading comprehensions, it's got the poem, the story, the song, whatever you're doing. And it's also got that nice little grammar question itself. So let's have a look at this. The first thing we're going to open up is we're going to see a reading comprehension. All right. The reading comprehension is roughly going to be about 65 marks for us in total. Now, the thing is, sometimes the questions can move around. So sometimes maybe the poem might be up in the middle, the novel might be a little bit down. Some of the years the material has been moving around, the questions have been kind of changing. So don't panic that when you open up and you see question 5 and it's not the novel, it's probably poetry, or it's not poetry, it's probably your drama or short film. So sometimes the questions just will move around a little bit on the paper for some reason, I don't know, but they just tend to kind of move the questions around. I think it's to keep you thinking, and it's to keep you on your toes, I think. But it's the same questions, it's going to be the same marks, it'll be the same material. The only thing is that sometimes the questions are going to move around, just as a little bit of a curveball for students on the day of the exam. You don't get any of this with higher level. It's much more structured. Now, after that, we could have urscéal, but this is the important part. Will you note the word urscéal? Urscéal means novel. So urscéal is a novel, and it's going to be roughly about 40 marks for us. We then have the composition piece, don't we? And we've been working on the composition piece for the past couple of months, and we worked on the composition pieces back in October, November, and early December. So that's called your ceapadóireacht. It's nice because ceapadóireacht comes from the word ceap, meaning to think. So you have to think about what you're going to write. So you'll get like a paragraph, a composition piece, an article. For example, you went out to the cinema, tell me about your day. You went to the Gaeltacht, tell me about your day. You went on holidays, tell me about your day. You went on to cinema, tell me about your day. All the stuff that we've kind of been doing on the Tuesday night classes, that's called your ceapadóireacht, because you have to think about what you're going to write. After that then, there'll be these things called fill in the blanks. Now, fill in the blanks in Irish is called Barney, means gaps. So we have this fill in the blanks where we take the word and we pop it in. That's nice, that's worth 10 marks. We can do these super quickly. We also have a choice of a garsconan or a drama. So we have the choice between a short film or a drama. Now, some of you are doing a short film, some of you are doing a drama, that's fine, that's grand, but we'll have one or the other to do. That's going to be worth roughly about 25 marks to us on the day of the exam. After that then, we have grammar. We like these. These are nice. We practiced these back in February and March. The grammars, you have to pick the correct grammar point. The statement's probably in the past tense. They'll give you 3 verbs. Bhí, bíonn, and beg. And you have to pick which one is the correct one. You kind of have to circle it. You have to highlight which one is the correct use, which one is the correct verb. So the grammar section here is quite nice. And the thing is, they're quite predictable as well. We're also going to have a poetry question. Now, here's the thing. It can be a poem or a song. You can do some. Some of you are doing Siar go Connemara, and some of you are doing an actual poem like Jack or Stadoliacht or Dawn the Larda. So you have a choice to either do a poem or you can do a song, and that's going to be worth 25 marks. So that's the layout of our paper, the listening, followed by the written section. It's nice, it's good. The only thing that we want to lock in as a class is our timing, because we want to move from question to question to question in a nice, timely manner. Here is fine, because the listening it's open. you're going to have to do the questions anyway with the tape. But here we want to be quite careful about our actual material itself. Manu has a question for the Ceapadóireacht section. Do we have to structure it as an essay, blog, or a diary entry? Yeah, so they'll tell you at the start, Manu, whether it's an essay, whether it's a blog, whether it's an email, or whether it's a diary entry. And we covered again, if it is, just as a quick, just a little bit of revision, if it is a diary entry, we just have to say a Yelin. That's it. That's all we have to do. Put in a Yelin. You can put in a date if you want, but we just have to put in that little bit of a structure at the top. But Manu, the vast majority of those marks are actually going to come from the quality of Irish in this one. Now, Alex, Michal, what if there's 4 questions in the listening? There hasn't been 4 questions. There was 4 questions on the sample papers that were released a couple of years ago. But since then, Alex, they actually haven't put in any of the material itself. So they haven't put in any of the 4 questions for the listening. It's just been a nice kind of question, nice kind of handy question 1, question 2, and question 3. I can only find one going back a long time ago with the listening, where they did used to have the 4 questions in sample paper D, but that has been gone for the past couple of years with these. They haven't had these in, so I wouldn't worry about that. It's kind of locked in as being the 3 questions now, question 1, question 2, and question 3 on the material itself, which is good. It's nice, it's handy, and it suits us in this one. So again, going back 24, 25, Alex, we're fine. I think they'll lock in that part itself. Do we get marked for spelling in the listening? Michaela, either -1 or -2 or -0 can come off at the end for the spelling in the listening itself, but very, very, very little comes off at the end of it, which is great news for us. On average, maybe -1 might come off towards the end, but that's perfect. Next couple of questions here then. Do I think that... Yeah, no, that's grand. That's perfect. It's no bother at all. Manu, have your question done? And no bother. Do you think they could ask us about 2 poems? It's kind of, it'd be rare to be asked about 2 poems, because I know most students around the country are actually only doing 1 poem. Now, I want us to have 2 or 3 poems done. That's why we've got Jack, we've got Stadoliacht, we've got Don Lara. But how many poems are you all doing? Are you just doing 1? Are you doing 2? Or are you doing 3 with these ones? Just let me know if you want. But it's unlikely for them to ask you about 2 poems on the course. Because the marking scheme, Anna, just wouldn't fit. Like, the breakdown is 25 marks, and we ask you usually about 3 things on the poetry. It'd be very, very hard for us to ask you about 2 poems on the paper itself and have to break down the 25 marks into half and then into thirds again. I think it wouldn't happen at all. It'll mess with the marking scheme itself. Most are doing 1 poem. That's perfect. I know most students just tend to do 1 poem around the country. Some are doing 2. That's no bother at all. I think 2 is a good one. 2 is a nice amount to have. But pick Don Lara is nice and simple. Jack is really simple. Stadoliacht is very, very simple. You've got a couple of poems that you can pick from, but most students I know are doing 1 poem. I'd love if we could actually just lock into 2 poems just in case. Teacher said we were going to do 2 and we never did. We only did 1. Yeah, I think most just around the country do 1 itself. So I wouldn't worry about that. Now, Zaina, instead of the Garsconan or the drama, can they ask you the Gar scale or a drama? Now, this came up a couple of years ago where they had a Gar scale and a drama. They had a short story and a drama in the same section. This is why we need to look out for the word Urscale for novel. We want to look out for the word Garsconan for a short film. We want to look out for the word drama for a play. And we also want to look out for the word filiocht for poetry. Now, we can also have a Gar scale for a short story. So, Zaina, this is what they did a couple of years ago, in that they mixed and matched the layout of the paper around, just, I think, to kind of throw some students off, just to kind of get them thinking on their toes, that they weren't copy and pasting material, that they weren't walking into their exam and just going straight for question 5 and putting down all the material. What they wanted, and what they want junior cycle students to do, is they want you to recognise the word Urscale as a novel. They want you to recognise that Garsconan is a drama. They want you to know that filiocht is a poetry. They want you to know that Garscale is a short story. That's part of the assessment, Zaina. So we just need to be careful that when we do go and we do open up our questions, that just because it's question 6 doesn't mean it's going to be a composition piece. It could be a novel. But it'll tell you, Zaina, at the very, very top of it, whether it's a gear scale, gear scanan, filiocht, and that's the thing that we have to look out for. That's the important part. That's part of the assessment itself. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of homework to do tonight. Obviously, I'm not going to call it homework, but I want you to just test yourself. Later tonight, have a look back. Without thinking, later tonight, can you fill in how many marks each section is worth? You know how many marks are for the piece of kind shit? Do you know how many marks are for the fogra and the listening? Do you know how many marks are going to go for the total of the listening? How many marks are going for the reading comprehensions, the Urscale, the Capadoric, the Barney, the Garsconnell, and how many marks in total for the paper? So maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow, I want you to test yourself that you understand that the word Garscale is a novel, Garsconnon, short film, drama, a short film, filiocht is poetry, and I want you to test yourself. Do you know how many marks are going to go for each section? Do you know how many marks are going for your reading comprehensions, your poems and your stories? Because if you know your layout, we're good to go. Now, there's the answer key is there that you can check for yourself, but don't look at that. So let's have a look then at your Cluas Tishkent. Your Cluas Tishkent is going to be worth 45 marks. The tape itself is going to last about 25 minutes, and there are 3 audio pieces for you to listen out for. Kesh the Hain, Kesh the Do, and Kesh the Tree. Let's have a look at these. So the Cluas Tishkent. Question 1. That is going to be your piece of kaintje. It's played twice, and there'll be roughly 5 short questions. Some are tick the box, which is quite nice, and then some need a written answer. Now, go over to the next page. Kesh the Do is a fogra. It's an announcement. It's played twice. 5 short questions, and sometimes it can have a tick the box as well, which is quite nice. Question 3. This is our conversation on the listening. This is also played twice, from start to finish, then into 2 parts. Part 1, pause, and then part 2. And it's kind of the longest of the 3 questions because it's a conversation between 2 people. So, quick question, right? Do you all understand the listening, the layout, that there's 3 questions, it's played twice, question 3 is called the conversation, and it's got 2 parts. It goes right the way through, and then it plays part 1, pause, and then part 2. Are we good with the layout? Are we clear? Because it can be a little bit tricky. The other thing then we need to lock in then as a class is to make sure over the next couple of days is to revise what these mean. These are important because these are the questions on the Cluas Tishkent. So we need to know our starting questions. Words like ke, meaning who. Now, in this, obviously we listen for a person's name, but maybe their role. Maybe they'll give us a name, or maybe they'll just use the word itself, like Moonshore. The teacher started a music class. The teacher put together a music class. So when it comes to who, we listen out for a person's name, but we might also have to listen out for the role, like a principal, a teacher, a soccer player. Cod and Kajay, both of these mean what. So what you're going to do is you listen out for a thing, an object, or even an event. Cén Fá. I'm going to put this in red. This is my word for why in Irish, but here's the thing. We want to listen out for a reason. Why did Sean go to school early? Why did Niamh come home from school late? Why did Sean not make it to soccer practice? Why did Niamh not make it to rugby practice? So the 3 words that I would listen out for with a Cén Fá question would be tushk, because, mar, because, and chun, in order to. Did you think I was going to say because as well? So the 3 words are going to introduce a reason. So they're kind of 3 sneaky words. So Manu, they're the kind of 3 sneaky pieces of vocab that I would listen out for. If I see my question set starts with the word Cén Fá, well then I'd write down tushk, mar and chun, because they're the 3 words that they would have to use in order to give you the information. The same thing here when it comes to cahan, when. They can also use the word cén uair, which also means when. So when I see cahan and cén uair on my paper, I listen out for a time, a day, or a date. I would listen out for words like clog, because if they're going to give you a time, they have to mention the word clog. Cuig a chlog, trí a chlog, ceathair a chlog. I'd also listen out for the word J, which we use for a day in Irish. J luan, J mart, J hédín, Jardín, J híine, J sahran, J doni. I listen out for the word J and then a day, luan, mart, cédín, Jardín, íine, sahran, and donach. I listen out for them because they'd have to use that word when they're going to give you a day. And again, when it comes to a date, again, I'd listen out for me, the word for month. Mi fiaura, the month of February. Mi Marta, the month of March. Mi Abran, the month of May, or the month of April. Mi Baltana, the month of May. So these are words that we listen out for: clog, J, and me. We could also listen out for this word here, and it's the word caikish. Caikish is the word for fortnight. Could be a little bit sneaky. How long were they on holidays for? Ga hiachtan, 2 weeks, but they might use the word caikish for a fortnight instead. Now, what's the difference, Michal, between tushk and chun? There is no difference, Manu, between the two of these. Tushk means because, mar means because, and chun means in order to. The only thing that's different, Manu, is the word that's going to come after it. So the only thing that's different is whether we use the word for that. So when I use the word tushk, Manu, I would normally have the word go or gur after it. And chun just puts things into an infinitive. Do you know the verbal noun that we've been doing for the past couple of weeks as well? So they don't really mean anything different. They don't really mean anything too different. The only thing, Manu, that's different is just what grammar point you would use after them. Tushk is always followed by go and gur in this one. That's the only thing that's different in them. But you'll spot this, Manu, a mile off in this one. Now, Manu says, what vocab should we learn for this section? The thing is, I'm not a mad believer in learning off reams and reams and reams and reams and reams of vocab. Why? Because the vocab that you're learning is probably going to be in an A4 page. You probably have a list of vocab written down, or I could give you a list of vocab, and you're just going to learn the words on a page. You're actually not training your ear to hear the words, which means it's not really the most productive way of studying. The best way to study for the listening is to actually put on an actual listening script. Put on 2023, 24, 25, put it on and just do listening. Put it on and listen to the words and just, Manu, recognize, spot words that you recognize. Ah, I heard the word moonshore. I heard the word soccer. I heard the word ismotlium. I heard the word skull. I heard the word moonshore. And spot words, Manu, and just say, Grant, I know that word. Don't try and understand the whole conversation because we don't need to. But the best thing that you can all do to prep for the listening and to keep practicing with the listening is not learning off words on a sheet, because again, this is a skill. You're going to have to listen to a tape. So the best practice that you can do over the next week and a half is to go back to your exam papers and pick out a little bit and listen to the Irish, because, Manu, they're going to be the most common words that they tend to use. Now, when I hear the word for ke, ka, and kenach, the two of these things mean where. So we listen out for a place. So again, can we write down the word, maybe it's Conde. They could also use the word Ballia for a town, but they could actually just give us a place itself. Conde Valliachlia, Conde Lacarman, Ballia Lacarman, Ballia Achlia. So listen out for Conde and listen out for Ballia as well. We've got Conas and King Cui. These mean how. We also have Kevade and Kahad. Put an NB beside these. Kevade means how many, and Kahad means how long. So how many people were at the parade? How many people were at the match? Listen out for a number. That's the thing we want to go for. And Kahad for how long. We could listen out for words like la, day. We could listen out for Shaktan for a week. We could also listen out for ur, for hours. So Kevade, how many, and Kahad, how long. But you can see the word fod in that meaning long or length. So what length? Céinish is good. If they ask you céinish, it means what age, but they're going to have to mention the word blian, aren't they? They cannot give you an age without saying the word blian. So that's quite nice. Now, cén tainnim, that should be a T hyphen there. So folks, can you just put in this? So we're going to go for cén tainnim. So for what name? And again, we're listening for the name of people or the name of events. Now, if you do one thing for me today, watch out for this. Luig ga rud. Mention two things. That's important. They do this. They have done it with us when we're doing the listening, but they have gone through it and asked us for 2 points. And a couple of you are like, Micheál, I only wrote down 1. It's a little bit of a sneaky trick that they'll do to make sure students are reading the question and looking at the question. So anytime you see the word ga, just circle it and make sure we have to write down the 2. Cad ba chóir do. I like this question. Cad ba chóir do means what should somebody do? What should someone do? Cad ba chóir do. And then they're going to use a person. So they're the most common starter questions from the listening that I could find for you, that I could go back over the deferred papers, past papers, mock papers. And that's the biggest cluster of materials that tend to come up in the listening itself. Now again, I want you to test yourself over the next couple of days. Do you see these? I want you to test yourself to make sure you do understand why, how long, how many, who is she, what age. Just make sure you can kind of go back and there. The answers are there as well for you just to double check to make sure you have that material locked in. Now, what we're going to go for is, I want to go on to the next part. You can read through this, the strategy, right? Explain to you in English. But I want us to go on over and I want us to have a look at the reading comprehension. So can you go on to page 6 and let's have a look at question 4. Now let's have a look at the reading comprehension. You've done the listening, question 1, question 2, question 3. Now we open up the paper and we see question 4 is the reading comprehension. For this, 65 marks, roughly about 25 minutes. And there's going to be about roughly 8 questions. Short, snappy, simple sentences. No massive writing, no chunks of material, no spending long times on the reading comprehension. There's only 25 minutes. There's going to be about roughly 8 questions, short, snappy, quick sentences in this. Now, here's the format, right? So we're going to have questions A to G. But the best thing is they're going to tell you where the answer is. They're going to tell you in paragraph 1. In paragraph 2, in paragraph 3. So we get to be told where the answer is, which I think is really, really nice. It saves us having to listen out for our question. Part H is going to be a personal opinion. For example, the personal opinion is going to start off with Jane, play, air, discuss. Or they might ask you, what did you think? But again, we keep this very simple. We keep the Irish short and we keep it very neat. It's only 25 minutes. We've 8 questions to get to. Not everything on our paper has to be a big, long-winded, complicated answer, which is what you told me a couple of weeks ago, that you have to write loads and loads and loads of material. And I said to you, I love that, but we don't have enough time to write loads and loads of material. And some of you said, Micheál, I didn't even get my paper finished in my mocks. And I think we kind of cleared it up that week because you're writing way too much, that it's eating into question 2, question 3, question 4, question 5. So when it comes to writing a personal opinion, keep it short, keep it simple, keep it brief, because it's only going to be roughly worth about 8 marks to 9 to 10 marks in total. So let's have a look at your reading comprehension a little bit more. The strategy itself. So in the paper, we were told exactly where the paper is and where the questions are. So every comprehension question has all the hain or all the do, and it tells you exactly which paragraph the answer is in, which is nice. Which is the other thing I told you. Don't read the whole passage. Don't read the reading comprehension. I know it's called a reading comprehension, but we don't have time to read it. All we need to do is just look for the paragraph where our answer is in. So here's an example, right? I'm going to give you an example here. Tuair gá fhuinse eolais, give 2 points of information about the impact of climate change on the sea. And it tells you paragraph 2, which means go straight to paragraph 2 and find 2 facts, 2 points of information about the impact. And what do? You steal them. They go down on a sheet of paper. Go straight for paragraph number, look there, find your words, lock in the words, and pull out that material itself. For example, Cad ó rinne an grúpa, what did a group of teenagers do? And it tells you in paragraph 4. So what do? You go straight for paragraph 4 and you find the name, you find the material from the question, and that's roughly where your answer is going to be. And then you just lift out the person's name. You lift out that fact. You don't have to put it in your own words. So the pattern is they tell you the alt. They'll tell you where the paragraph is and where the material is, which is nice. Let's have a look at strategy number 2 when it comes to the reading comprehensions. Do you know one of the biggest things that stops students getting their top marks? It's the number 2, where they ask you, Tuair gá foinse, give 2 points of information, or luig gá rud, mention 2 things. Isn't it mad that the biggest obstacle for an awful lot of junior cycle students, it's not the Irish, because you've got way more Irish than you give yourselves credit for. It's not the Irish because you're actually very good at grammar and you've got great vocab. The biggest obstacle for us as higher level students at junior cycle is that number there. So when you go into your exams, you're going to want to start writing. You're going to open up the paper. You're going to want to take up that pen. And you're going to want to start writing and answering questions straight away. Why? Because you feel like you're doing the right thing. That's what I have to do. And it brings this kind of falseness of comfort that if I'm writing, I'm doing something right. Because you're looking at your friend Niamh, she's flat out writing there. You're looking at your best friend Sean and Oisín over there, and they've got highlighters and they're highlighting. And then you're looking at your best friend Deirdre over there, and she's got a calculator for some reason in the Irish exam. But everybody's trying to be busy because you feel that if I'm busy, if I'm writing, if I'm doing things, if I'm turning the paper loudly and I'm throwing it back, I must be doing something right. But what you're doing is you're comfort writing. You're kind of comfort writing. You're kind of writing out of a panic. So when it comes to the reading comprehensions, the first thing you're going to do, right, is you're going to take a breath. You're going to calm yourself. Let Niamh flat out highlight stuff. Let Oisín turn papers really loudly. Let Deirdre be using a calculator up there for some god known reason in an Irish exam. But I want you to take a breath and I want you to look out for that number 2, because you'll miss your marks. It's the easiest thing to do, and it's one of the biggest things that stops students getting their full marks in the reading comprehensions in Irish. So for example, luig gá rud, the very first thing I'd like, there's my red flag, 2 things. I'd highlight it. The next thing I might say, luig gá rud, blah, blah, blah. But again, I highlight the word gá to remind me it's 2 things. But they're also telling you where the paragraph is. They're also telling you where the answer is. Do you know if I get to make a junior cycle paper or a leaving cert paper, and I will get to make it one of these days, I'm not going to tell you where that answer is. I'm not going to tell you what paragraph it's in. It's ridiculous, isn't it? The answer's in paragraph 2. The answer's in paragraph 3. But look, luckily you're going to escape it. They tell you where that actually answer is. Now, let's move on to the next part, right? Strategy number 3 in the reading comprehensions. What we're going to go for is the Cén Fáth question. Why? So when you see Cén Fáth, you're looking for a reason. Now, what were the reasons that we were looking out for a couple of seconds ago? Manu actually asked us about them. What were the 3 words that trigger a Cén Fáth question? There was 3 of them that I gave you. Toisc, mar, and chun. They're from the listening, but we're going to steal it. They could also use this word here, de bharr, which means due to. And they could also use this word here, ar an ábhar go, which means due to. But all of those would instigate, they would trigger a Cén Fáth question. So we want to look out for those. So for example, in our paper, we had Cén Tábhair. What was the subject discussed in paragraph 1? The subject was what? So we looked at the last sentence of paragraph 1 and it told us exactly where it was. It contains the word toisc, mar, and gun. They're big indicators for the why question in this. So the answer is going to come right after toisc or mar. Michal went to the shops because he needed milk. Michal went back into the school because he forgot his books. Michal went back to the school because he forgot the copies. So they're going to have to use the word tusk, mar, chun, devar, or eranaver, but we just take the words after that. That's where our answer is. So when we see the Cain Fáil question, we like them. They're nice. Strategy number 4, when it comes to the reading comprehensions, is going to be the personal opinion. Giving a personal opinion. So the last question is going to be what you think about something. Now, before you panic, you cannot be wrong. We're asking you for a personal opinion on something. So straight away, we're good. It's roughly 10 marks, and it's going to be in your own words. Do me a favour. Will you keep this really simple? Do me a favour. Keep the Irish nice, short, simple. That's all I want. We don't have ages to spend on this, and the examiners are not expecting you to spend lots of time on this and having this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful level of Irish. We don't have the time, and they know that. Short, simple structures, brilliant. Keep your material short, keep it really simple. You have loads of Irish. You've loads of vocab. You've loads of structures. It might not feel like it now, but you do, because I've been asking you questions over the past couple of weeks. What word do you have for this, and what verb do you have for this, and you're answering my questions. So when it comes to the personal opinion question, give them your opinion. Tell them about something. Even if you said ceapam, I think, go will, sé, that it is, go ma, good, that's your personal opinion. It doesn't have to be Shakespearean poetry. It doesn't have to be really highfalutin Irish. It can be just nice, short, and simple. And sometimes that's the best approach to go for it. So when it comes to this, slow down, put your thought down on a sheet of paper, but keep the Irish short, keep it simple, keep it very manageable. You've got loads and loads of Irish. Now, let's move on. The next part, we need to look out for the Uair scale, the novel. We need to look out for short story. We need to look out for the word film and poem. But as we talked about a couple of minutes ago, as Zaina was asking, they can move the questions around, and they have moved the questions around. Why? To stop students copying and pasting. They want you to read the question. Name a short film or a drama. But they can change it. They could say name a short story or a drama. So we have to look at the actual question itself to make sure that it contains drama and I've got my play ready to go. Or it contains Uair scale novel and I've got my novel ready to go. That's the biggest test with this. So the novel's roughly about 40 marks, roughly about 15 minutes. And again, it's going to come up in about 4 parts, question A, B, C, and D. But we spoke about this every single week for the past couple of weeks. Do not write down chunks and chunks and chunks and chunks of material. We don't have the time. And your examiners know that. And your examiners are not expecting A4 pages of material. Nice, short, simple questions. So let's have a look at the questions that tend to come up around the novel. Number 1, describe one event in the novel. You get to pick. How do you feel about the event? You get to pick. You can say, I felt happy, I felt sad, I felt frustrated. I can't come along and be like, no, you didn't. Sorry, wrong. That's not how you felt. You should have felt this. So it's a nice open-ended question to get. So straight off the bat again, you can't be wrong. We just need to be able to talk about the event. I like these questions. And I'm really sorry, I'm going to say something now that you're not going to like. The reason why I like these questions is because they make students panic, which is good for us. They give you 4. You just have to pick one. Talk about the title or the atmosphere, the setting, the theme, the ending. So you just have to pick one of these that you like. I like atmosphere because it's broad, it's opened, and you can talk about anything. The atmosphere is sad. If you're going to say the atmosphere is sad, give me an event that's sad. If you tell me I like the setting of the story, give me one event to do with the setting. So if you're doing Cúpla, you might take the setting of the car at the end, or the Gaeltacht. So if you're going to tell me I like the theme of the story, the theme is love, give me one event where you see love. If you say I like the ending of the story, Micheál, tell me about the event at the end of it. But I just want one event. I don't need loads and loads and loads of little bits of material like a summary itself. So these are kind of the most common ones. Yeah, so Mia, these are the most common ones that you can get asked about the novel. But Mia, if they ask you, right, and we had this 2 weeks ago, Micheál, what if they throw up something that's like, that I'm not prepared for? What if they say, I can't remember the question, like what if they put up something that I don't really understand or that I can't really kind of practice before? You have loads of material from talking about an event, how you feel about an event or how you feel about the characters. You've done loads of these little things with me. You can take, Mia, the material that you know and make it fit. So I'll give you an example, right? Mia, if they asked you, just let's say, they give you question A, the event, they give you question 2, how you feel, and then they give you this question 3, what is the emotion of the novel? And your first instinct, Mia, is to panic, be like, I've known this, but you have. Tell me the emotion is happy, áhasach, son sásta, muine muice. Or tell me the emotion is sad, bronach, or brone. Tell me the emotion is maybe angry, farrig. These are words, Mia, that you know. Then what you do, Mia, you give me one event where you see that anger. You give me one event where you see happiness. You give me one event where you see sadness. So what I want to talk to you is, worst case scenario, you walk in and they give you a question like, what is the main emotion of the novel? It's all about the events. You just give me an emotion, like there's a happy emotion, and all you have to do is bring me to one event, any event, an event of your choice, Mia, that talks about that happiness. So for us, when we mark, when we correct, it's not about having loads learnt off, loads and loads of little paragraphs learnt off. What gets distinctions? What gets top marks? It's the student who can use the material that they know to fit that question. The students that tend to get top marks in any subject for junior cycle, leaving cert, it's looking and saying, right, I know 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. They're asking me about something that's different, something I haven't prepared for. Let me go back and have a look at the material I know. Well, I could take this, and apart from this, and apart from this, and I can build my answer on the day of the exam. That's the top end of the student. The students who just use that material a little bit more in a clever way, rather than kind of panicking and thinking, oh, I haven't done this before. You've got loads and loads of Irish. I need us to play the game. I need us to just step back for a couple of minutes and look at all the material you've done. Look at all the fantastic work you've done with me. Look at the fantastic work you've done with your teachers. Look at the fantastic work that you've put in. Class tests, weekly tests, Christmas tests, monthly tests, Easter tests. Everything you've done, bring it to the table for me on the day of the exam. If we get stuck on time, Iseult, would we have any spare time at the end? You'll have a couple of minutes. This is really important to kind of stick to the timing on it as well. That's what we really want to do, stick to the time. So what I would suggest, right, is because Iseult, the reading comprehension is worth a huge chunk of marks. The reading comprehension is worth the most. I would do that first. But I would be super, super tight with the time, and I would try and get it done within that 25 minutes. I would try to nail that down quicker than the 25 minutes and earn back a little bit of time. So I do my listening Iseult. I go straight from my reading comprehensions. I do it quick, I do it snappy. I try to get it done in under 25 minutes and earn myself back a couple of minutes. They're the things I want to do. After that Iseult, go for your strongest. After the reading comprehension, go and have a look at what you're good at. Is it a novel? Is it a short story? Is it a poem? Go for those first. Find the things that you're good at. Find the things that you're strongest at and do them quickest and do them fast. And then maybe go for the grammar towards the end. The grammar is only worth 10 marks. I mean, Iseult, if you look at the material, and I'll talk to you about this in a couple of minutes, it's at the back of the book itself, right? But 65 marks are going for the reading comprehension. whereas only 10 marks each are going to go for the reading comprehension or for the fill in the blanks for the grammar. So we really want to lock in the reading comprehension and then go do your novel, or then go do your written part, or then go do your short film or your play, and then go do your poetry. Do the stuff that you know, the stuff that you're good at, because you've done this with your teachers. You've done class tests, weekly tests, you've done monthly tests. These are the things that you are really, really good at. So lock what you know best, lock that in as well. But we just have to keep moving with the timing on this. That's the only thing with the paper itself. Now, just make sure when it comes to this that you have the title of your novel, that you know it, and you have the author, you know who your main character is, and you know an important event from your novel. And again, know an emotion. So this will be kind of like your cheat card to write down. So fill in this as well this week and say, right, I've done Kupla. The main emotion is sorrow. The main emotion is happiness. But make sure you know your main character, the title, the author, an important event that you can talk about, and an emotion as well. Now, let's have a look at this. We're looking out for our Ceapa Dóireachta. You keep your questions in. I'm going to go through your questions. I'll be bouncing back and forth, so don't panic if I haven't answered your question yet. I want to get onto this. The Ceapa Dóireachta is what we've been working on for the past couple of weeks, and last October and last November. Talk about a day trip, talk about a trip to the cinema, talk about a trip to the Gaeltacht, talk about school, talk about technology. There are things that we have done in the past with this. It's going to be 50 marks in total. We've got roughly about 25 minutes, and they're going to give us 6 bullet points to talk about. So question 6 is structured like this. You get 2 topics. You'll see 2 pictures, picture A and picture B. But within the pictures, they're going to give you 2 options. They'll give you a big occasion in Ireland, or you can talk about a big occasion abroad. That's lovely. There's loads of choice. They'll ask you maybe in topic B, a party or a day out in the city. So when you get the 2 pictures, they're going to give you a choice of A or B, A or B. We just have to do one. So there's loads and loads and loads of options. There's 4. We just have to do one. So we pick which picture, and then within the picture, we pick which one we want to do. There's huge, but they're going to give you 6 bullet points to write about. First off, lots of choice. Lots and lots of choice. The second thing is the 6 bullet points that you have to cover are super open. Have a look at this. They might ask you on fá a raibh tú ann why you were there. It's your friend's birthday. It was a party. It was a day out. It was the Gaeltacht. It was a football match. It was a soccer match. It was a cinema. It was a camping trip. They want you to say why you were there. And what we want to go for is roughly 2 to 3 lines on that. Short, simple, and snappy. No paragraphs. No long-winded paragraphs, because we don't have the time to spend on paragraphs. They're going to ask you pointse amháin, possibly. Pointse amháin faoi náit, 1 point about the place. We've done a few of these from the exam papers, and this seems to be kind of the pattern that they've been asking us. 1 thing about the place, 1 point of information about the place. It came up in 24, came up in 25. I'm just going to go back, came up in 2020, in 2023. It's been one of the most common things, but you can tell me anything you want about the place. And again, we want to go for 2 to 3 lines on this. Pointse amháin faoin aimsir, really common. 2 to 3 lines about the weather. Now, we've kept an awful lot of this material really uniformed in October, November, and even back in the past couple of weeks when we were doing these. My advice to you is stick to the stuff that you know. If you've got lovely stuff about the weather, put that in. If you went on a day trip shopping, if you went to the Gaeltacht, if you went to the beach, if you went to abroad on holidays, make sure that weather piece goes in. Pointse amháin faoi na daoine, 1 point about the people. They were nice, they were friendly, I spoke Spanish. I understand Spanish, I spoke French, I went to the Gaeltacht, I spoke Irish, the people were very nice, the people spoke Irish with me, I spoke Irish to them. That's perfect, you have all of this vocab. 2 to 3 lines is enough. We shouldn't be writing paragraphs because we don't have the time. They ask you then really for Actra Awana Harla, 1 event that happened. That could be anything you want. One event that happened, it's up to you. Maybe you went to a concert. Maybe you went to the beach. Maybe you went out with your friends. Maybe you had a birthday party. But that one event is pretty much them asking you, write about whatever you want. It's perfect. It's such an open-ended question. And in fact, the last couple of ones that we've been doing every week on Tuesday is brilliant. They just said, Poinse a one Ella, one other point. You could lock in food. You could lock in about a new friend. You could tell me about a sport that you played. You could tell me maybe the music that you were listening to on the day. That one other point is totally open-ended, and they have handed you a blank check and they've said, you write what you want to write. So take the best thing that you know, take your really impressive stuff. But again, we're only looking for 2 to 3 lines on this. So if you add up these 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, that's 12 lines in total. That's a lot. And if you do go up to 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, then you could be up to 18 lines. This is why I've been telling you, don't do any more, because we only have about 20 to 25 minutes in this itself. No paragraphs, nothing. Now, here's the question. You're asking me what topics, what predictions can come up in this one. They can put up whatever they want. They can put up anything that they want. But they're not expecting you to have really in-depth thoughts about it. That's the thing. We get to stay surface level. Don't read too much into it. Don't go too deep into that team. Try and keep it nice, keep it easy, keep it breezy, keep it nice and surface level. Don't get intimidated by a picture. One of the things that we did a couple of weeks ago, and some of you said, I find a picture off-putting, which is grand. And it was the picture of the Kjol curtain. It was this. And you were trying to describe the picture and what you were seeing in the picture, but that's not what we wanted you to do. I just want you to tell me about the friends you were with at this imaginary concert, the imaginary artist that you were listening to. Tell me about the favourite song that you were listening to. Tell me about the atmosphere. You went for food and then you went into the city. Tell me about all this stuff. You've got loads and loads of Irish. Bring all that to the table. Just don't get intimidated by the picture. Don't let that put you off. But unfortunately, Tara, they can ask us anything. The one thing, Tara, we did prep was the cinema trip as well. A cinema trip in this one. That's the only thing I can find that they haven't asked. That and a camping trip as well. We looked at camping, cinema, and camping, and a zoo. There were kind of 3 things that we said that they kind of haven't really asked us in the pictures themselves, but they can ask you kind of anything, but just keep the head, Tara, and try and get down as much of the material as you possibly can. Now, can they make us pretend to be a character and write a story or write a diary or a blog? They can, yeah, 100%. So we're back to this, right? So Zane has a question back here. Can they ask us in the novel about being a character? They could, 100%. They could. But the thing is, they don't want you to get really creative. We don't have time to get creative. We've only 15 minutes. And we need to keep it surface level. So Zane, all right, if they asked you, what would you do? If you're a character, tell me the ending that you would have. Keep it kind of close enough to it. They're not looking to reward students for creativity. They just want Irish. That's it. So you get to keep it really kind of simple, really short, really level. Keep it in with the rest of the team of it and use the material that you know. Use the vocab that you know. At the end of this, we all went to the cinema. We were all best friends. The food was great. The weather was great. You've got all of this Irish saying it up here in your head. So if they do give you a little bit of a curveball about you being the main character and what ending did you put on this, keep it short, keep it simple. They really do not want you to look too in depth at this. They just want you to put down a little bit of Irish. That's it. Nothing like the English course itself. Tara, no bother, anytime. Now, a couple of questions with this one, right? Now, remember, I'm back online tonight, so I'm going to do SMUF, the masterclass tonight from 6:45 until roughly about 7:30. And after 7:30, you can jump back on. We can have another little bit of a chat as well if you want. So I'll be with you back again tonight. So don't panic too much, right? So Lance, what exactly should we know for each of the prose pieces? Lance, they can throw anything at us. But again, what I was saying to Tara and what I was saying to Zaina is, Lance, do not look too in-depth at the question. It's just a very surface level thing. Don't go too in-depth into it. Don't go too much into it. Just keep it nice and short and breezy. That's all they want. If you start going down into a rabbit hole, Lance, and looking at every possible thing that they could ask you for every single question, you'll waste an awful lot of time. You've got an awful lot of Irish. You've got great Irish. Just go for it. Just put down what you can. Now, I've put in a couple of bullet points for you as well that we've been doing over the past couple of weeks. Kind of key phrases that we've used when we've been doing the composition pieces. For here, places why you were there, a little bit about the place. I have them there for you. Talking about the weather is there as well. Talking about the people. Talking about an event that happened. Talking about a closing. I've put all the kind of the key points that we have done as a class over the past couple of composition pieces, just as a little bit of a reference point itself. But have you noticed all of my parts, every single one of my points, I've been trying to use the same vocab over and over and over again. I've been using the same material and the same structures in different sections. Try and lock in that common piece itself. How many phrases do we need to add to in-depth to answer to get as much marks as possible? Now, Barbara, this is the thing. You've said to go or to add depth to the answer. Barbara, we don't need to add a huge amount of depth to it at all. That's the mistake we're all making. We do not have to have a deep dive into this. It's a junior cycle paper. It's a fictitious question. They are not expecting Shakespearean prose. They do not want Seamus Heaney. They do not want works of art. They do not want works of literature. Keep it short, keep it simple, and don't go too in-depth, because if you do, you'll have missed the point and you'll have spent marks and time going for one specific thing and forgetting about the rest of the paper itself. So don't go too in-depth in this. Michaela, would I recommend learning off some topics? I would. I definitely would. I'd go back and have a look at the topics, Michaela, that we've done. Like technology. We did this. We took kind of the hardest one at the start of the year. Back in October, we looked at technology for about 2 or 3 weeks, about students being on their phones and social media. Go back to that, Michaela, and start with that, and then just go through the rest of the topics, because they get lighter then as we go on. We started with the hardest one during the year, and then gradually then they got lighter and lighter and lighter. So you have your little bit of a thing there. You have your little parts, your structures, right? Now, fill in the blanks. That's fine. That's perfect. It's only worth 10 marks, 5 minutes. No more than that, because reading comprehension is 65 marks. The listening is 45 marks. These are just there at the end for the last couple of minutes to just dust off the marks in those. When it comes to your short film, your short novel, or your short story, again, 25 marks, 10 minutes, and usually just 2 questions. But it's all explained for you there. Things that you like, things that you didn't like. They're kind of the type of questions. Describe the start of the film. Describe the end of the film. Did you like the film? Did you like the plot? Did you like the team? Even, and I'm going to come back to a question here, what if they ask me something I haven't prepared for? And let's go back and talk about an emotion. What is the emotion that you liked in your short film or in your drama? You could say the emotion was Sasta. The emotion was happy. You give me one event where you see happiness. It's all about the event itself. Maybe they might say, describe your favourite character. And again, coming back to Lance's question, Lance was like, what exactly can they ask us? They can ask you anything, but they don't want you to go too niche and too in-depth. So let's say, Lance, right, they ask you, who is your favourite character? You just say, my favourite character is, and give me one event where you see that main character. Give me one event that you can understand, that you can put down, that you can describe about that character. So if you're doing Kupla, give me an event. If your favourite character is Alia, give me one event with Alia in it. If your favourite character is Sharon, red flag, then tell me why your favourite character is Sharon. Bring me back to one event that Sharon was in. They can ask you anything, but they're not expecting you to have learned off loads and 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 loads of material. What they want is a student who can think on their feet and say, right, they've asked me a curveball question. What have I got? What do I know? What's in my cloud? What's in my bank that I can pull together to make my answer? That's your distinction student right there. There has to be a challenge on the paper. It can't be a copy and paste. It cannot just be copy it down. Here's the same question. Here's the same material. They have to make you work for that distinction, for that top marks. But they're not expecting you to learn off loads and loads and loads and loads of material. That's why the questions move around on the paper. That's why sometimes the topics move around on the paper. They're looking for a student who's calm, collected, got it together, and can pull on different topics that they know in Irish and build that answer on the day. So when the rest of the country falls because they haven't practiced a certain question, who is your favourite character? They haven't practiced this question maybe for the short film, for the drama, or for the short story. They haven't practiced who is your favourite character. 99% of the country will panic and say, we didn't practice this for this question. Then the distinction student comes along and says, well, I haven't either. But I do know stuff on the emotion, an event at the start. I've got stuff on the event at the end. And I've got stuff on the team. I'm going to pull little sentences from all of these things. I'm going to make my answer on the day. Now we found that top student, that student that can think on their feet. It's not about how much you know. It's not about whether you have photographic memory. It's not about whether you started studying in second year. It's not about whether you started studying in first year. It's not about how you studied 12, 13, 14 hours a day. Junior cycle exams need to find the top of the top, don't they? Not everybody can be in it. So there does have to be a little bit of a curveball. So when, not if, but when we do get that curveball on the day of the exam, you pause, gather your thoughts, you look over at Niamh, she's still highlighting stuff. You look over at Sean, he's still flicking through pages, looking stressed. And Deirdre, God love her, still up there using a calculator. We still don't know what she's doing. But I want you to pause and I want you to think, what have I got? What tests have I done? What material have I covered with Micheál? What material have I covered with my teacher? What did I see in my notes? And build your answer on the day. That's your distinction student, because you will stand out a mile above every other student if you can just pause for a couple of seconds and gather your thoughts and don't get into your head. Now, because we've covered off different parts, every Wednesday we looked at Dajo, Jordaha, we did Spás, we've Donda Lara, we've Jack, we've Stadoliocht, we've Clihamore, Glenallen, we've Coupla, we're doing Smuff tonight. We've done loads. I put in just a small little bit of a kind of a structure kit for you to talk about the beginning and the end as well. Stuff that we would have used in the notes, stuff that we would have kind of came across together on the Wednesday nights. Now again, the grammar section is only going to be 10 marks, 5 minutes. Do not spend any more on this because it's only worth 10 marks to you. It's not worth a huge amount of marks. Don't spend time on it. Look at your marking scheme and look at how much you're going to get. Your poetry is going to be there again, but the poetry is nice and short and simple. Poetry is nice and easy. But look at the emotions. Look at the emotions of the poet and look at describing a thing that you liked. Your favourite image, your favourite emotion. Even if we asked you about your favourite character in this, in the poetry. Let's say, Lance, we give you a curveball and we say, who is your favourite character in the poem? And you're like, haven't got a favourite character. I didn't do a favourite character for the poem. I did a favourite character for my short story and a favourite character for my novel. I did my favourite character for my short film. But I didn't do my favourite character for my poetry. Step back. Think of all the material that you have and pull on individual sentences and individual structures and build that on the day of the exam. That's your distinction student there. So there's a little bit there. Just make sure you know who wrote the poem, the title of the poem, one emotion, two emotions, just in case. Be able to talk about an image that you liked. Just one, a nice image that you liked in the poetry. So your timing on the day, the end of timing planning, 25 minutes, 50 minutes. Make sure that you have this and you have that locked in, right? This is really, really important. And coming back to Isolde's question about your timing. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to finish up now, right? Because I have 6 years coming on in 1 second. I'm back tonight. I'm doing Smuff tonight at 6:45. By about 7:30, I'll be done. Which means from 7:30 onwards, you can pop on and we can do a little bit of a Q&A and we can have a little bit of a chat about these as well. Does that make sense? But your marking scheme is done. Go back to the platform, find your notes, find your material. Remember as well, talk to me. I've got TikTok videos as well. If you want to drop in with me on TikTok videos, put your comment under any of the videos. I'll be able to have a chat with you there. If you want to go on and use any of the forms, if you want to go on and get in contact with me, 100%. But just remember your timing is really, really important in the exam. That's the big thing we need to go for. So there's a little bit of a plan down here for you as well, what to attack first and what to kind of leave until towards the end. Again, the question 10s, the 2 questions there. But that's us with our paper review. I'm going to leave you for this for an hour anyway. Come back to me a little bit later. But you've done amazing work. You've turned up each week since September. We've done verbs, we've done Y spelling changes, we've done Mochanelox, we've done masculine and feminine Irish, we did topics, we did poems, we did masterclasses, we were in the Talbot. We did loads and loads and loads of stuff. You've done loads and loads of stuff. I want you to acknowledge all the material that you've done. I want you to acknowledge all the hard work you've put in this year with class tests, weekly tests, vocab tests. You've done mocks. You've got mocks back corrected. You've got your feedback. You've done Christmas tests. You've done Easter tests. Huge amount of work. Do not get inside your own head. Do not have a wobble of confidence now. You've put in the work. You've put in a stellar year. That's the important part to remember. Perfect. No bother. Right, so I tell you what, folks, that's grand. That's perfect. Come back to me at 7:30 for a little bit of a chat again when I've done the smuff part and had a look at that. Come back to me then at 7:30, and if you want, we can still have another little bit of a chat then. Is that all right? So folks, listen, have an absolutely fantastic evening. Thank you very, very much for the classes. You were deadly. You were absolutely pure sound. I loved every one of the classes. These were fantastic. Stay in contact with me as much as you can. You can use the TikTok videos. If you do need to get in contact with me, just drop a little comment in there and I'll be able to have a chat with you there. Use kind of Grinds 360 as well. And if you do need to come back to me tonight, come back to me at 7:30 as well. Is that all right? Folks, listen, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I had an absolute blast with just this year. These were absolutely deadly. I wish you the very, 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 very best of Wexford luck in the junior cycle exams. Come back to me in 4th year. Come back to me in 5th year. And again, H1s, H2s, it'll be all distinctions incoming. But do me a favour. Believe in the abilities. Believe in what you've done with your teachers on me over the past couple of weeks. Self-belief. Have a little bit of delusion. A little bit of delusion never did anybody any harm. Is that all right? Brilliant. I'm absolutely delighted. I'm 100% chuffed at that, folks. You were deadly. You put in the work. Right, I tell you what. The very, very best of luck, and hopefully I'll see you a little bit later than tonight. If not, the best of luck in the exams. I heard you. You were brilliant. Got a míle maigah. Ihuai agus sláán inis.